You're listening to Saturday Morning Media. And now, back to our show. Here we go. Welcome once again to the Grantcast. My name is Grant Baciocco. It is a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for checking out the show. I really, really appreciate it. And a big shout out to every single one of the Saturday Morning Media Patreon patrons. Seriously, if it was not for them, this would not be happening, because I would be able to do it. So a big thank you to all the Patreon patrons. If you want to know more about the Patreon patron thing, you can check it out at the very end of the show. I was recently given a job offer, and it was sort of a last-minute job offer. And the person reached out to me and said, "Hey, I have this opportunity. Would you like to do it?" And this opportunity would have involved me leaving home for about 7 weeks. So it'd be even more time than when I went to Georgia this past summer to work on Mirth and Mischief. And so it would have been of a different thing. And I was very appreciative for the job offer. And the person was very adamant that I give a response like pretty much right away. And I said, well, I can't give you a response right this moment. I can give you one either later tonight or tomorrow. And I think I said later tonight, because the offer came in at about 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And I just said, I just have to figure out some things and talk over some things. And I said, but what I need from you is, can you send me the dates of the job? And I don't mean exact every single day. When does it start? When do I leave? When do I come back? That's what I wanted. That was the basic information that I wanted. And the person said, yes, I'll get those to you right away. And I said, fantastic. Well, the evening wore on, and those details did not arrive. And right as I was wrapping up for the evening, was going to relax, just hang out, as I was putting my phone on Do Not Disturb, I saw that there was a text from that person saying, well, what do you think? And I said, oh, well, maybe that means that they sent the information. And I looked and there was no information. And so I didn't reply because it was the end of the day. And here's what you don't know about me, or maybe you do know about me. When I go to sleep at night, my phone is in absolute do not disturb mode. It's no like, if you're a favorite, you're going to get through. If you're a pre-approved number, you're going to get through. No, my phone is off until I wake up in the morning. And my thing about that is people often go, well, what if there's an emergency? And I said, well, if there's an emergency, I will be much better equipped to deal with it if I've had my sleep. So my phone is in do not disturb. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. And you can, if you really need me, come on over, bang on the front door, I guess, is the situation there. So I just didn't reply. The next morning, I was going to reply, but there was something, I forget what, but early in the morning, there was some like very minor issue that needed to be taken care of, completely unrelated. Nothing to do with this. But then when I looked, I had looked at my phone in the morning, and but then this thing came up, so I was dealing with that thing. When I got back to my phone, there was a second text that was like, listen, I'm going to meet with them today, and I'm going to need an answer. And this is when I discovered my new rule. My new rule is, if you can't give me the basic details of the job. Now, I don't need what seat am I sitting on the airplane. I don't need how will my car arrive to pick me up from these places to this. How will I be traveling? I don't need that. All I asked for is what was the start date, what was the end date, and I didn't get that information. And it's almost like the story that you hear about Van Halen and the brown M&Ms. And that could have just been a crazy writer request. But Van Halen has said since then, the band Van Halen, members of the band Van Halen, David Lee Roth and all them, said that If they put that in their rider, no brown M&Ms, and they got into the dressing room and saw the bowl of M&Ms and there were brown M&Ms in there, then that made them think, what other things that we've asked for have not been taken care of, right? What other things, what safety things on the stage, whatever electrical stuff, what because there's brown M&Ms here, that is like an indicator that things might not have been taken care of. And so my new thing is, if you don't have the basic details for me, the answer is going to be no. That is what the answer is going to be. And so I just wrote back and I said, hey, thank you so much for this opportunity. I appreciate it. But the answer is going to be no. Just because there's other things happening, whatever. I was just like, thank you for the opportunity. I'm not going to be able to make this work. And then I found out that literally the start date, the begin date, was the day after that, or like 2 days after that text exchange. So I was like, well, yeah, you could have told me that, but you couldn't get me the basic details. So the answer is no. And that's my new motto going forward. And I don't think that makes me a diva. Maybe it does, but you just got to have some basic info. And there would have been a lot of headaches saved in past projects if there were basic details right up front that could have been taken care of. I sent in my last request to the Dr. Demento show. Dr. Demento, as I mentioned before, is he's retiring. He is stopping his shows, and he's doing one last all request show. And so he asked people for their last requests, which I thought, that's a funny way to say that. And I wanted to send one in, and you can send in a voice. First of all, let me say this. You may not be a subscriber to the Dr. Demento show. You do have to pay to listen to it now. But if you are at all a fan of comedy music, and if you are a fan of Tom Lehrer, who recently passed away, I guess I didn't mention that on the show, but Tom Lehrer, brilliant, at the age of 97, passed away. Brilliant comedy musician. Dr. Demento did a tribute show to him that was not on his sort of planned schedule of things to do before he retired, but he did it. And it is one of the single best episodes of the Dr. Demento show ever. It's 2.5 hours, so it's an extra bonus half hour of stuff. And there are things on there that I never even knew existed, let alone never heard before. And it's just amazing. So go to drdemento.com, check out that show. It was from a couple weeks ago. Brilliant. Anyway, I was like, what request am I going to make? Because here's the thing. Everybody is going to request fish heads. Everybody is going to request, this or that, or the songs that we've heard a million times. And I was like, who is somebody that Dr. Demento has played, and played often, but hasn't played in a while, but is sort of like a little bit of the fabric of the show, like a comedy music legend. Who's somebody that could play? And I was thinking Stan Freberg. He plays Stan Freberg often, and Stan Freberg is my absolute, probably favorite Dr. Demento discovery. Just from listening to his show. Stan Freberg is a huge influence on me. But I wound up going with the Smothers Brothers because I love the Smothers Brothers. I listened to the best of Smothers Brothers a million times, just constantly. And I thought their timing was amazing. And I thought they were amazing. I got to meet both of them very briefly once. I may have talked about that on the show before, but I just figured the Smothers Brothers. And I did it. You can submit a request to the Dr. Demento show via voice. So I did record a little thing to send in, and I don't know if it'll get played, but it was fun to make my last. It was sad though to make my last request because I've requested things in the past, and for a while you could request over the Facebook page, and you could do other things. And anyway, I'm hoping it gets played because. It would be cool to be on the last all request show to get a request on. That would be awesome. I want to finish up by talking about, this is going to be a shorter episode here today, but I want to finish up by talking about the other day I took Harvey for a walk. It was his morning walk, And he's a spoiled dog, which I'm sure you've already figured out well, in that we will drive far places from our house to take him in a walk in a place where he's never been before, because he's a little bit, if he's walking in a place that he knows very, very well, he will do his business, but then just stop and be like, okay. But if you take him to a place that he's been to before or hasn't been into in a while, if you've been to before but hasn't been there in a bit, or a new place, he will walk forever because he's just like, wow, what is this place? This is amazing. I'm going to pee on that. I'm going to pee on that. I'm going to pee on that. I'm also going to pee on that, whatever. And so the other morning I was taking him to a place I hadn't taken him in a while. It's a little residential area here in Burbank, just a nice quiet street. But the thing about this street is, in the evening, when around 6 or 7, there are this kind of group of 3 houses on one side of the street where it is very, very likely you will see a skunk. And he's just out, digging in the garden or whatever, looking for bugs, whatever it is that skunks do. But also, we would never want Harvey to come nose to nose with a skunk. So we know kind of where that house is, and we know to keep an eye out and just check around corners, check around bushes, and just make sure that Mr. Skunk is not going for a walk at the same time Harvey's coming around a bush. And then, because I think for a small dog like Harvey, getting sprayed would be almost life-threatening because it's such a powerful thing and it would be such a shock to the system. But luckily, that has, knock on wood, that has not happened. Oh, I didn't want to. I just realized I might have bothered Harvey by knocking like that. But anyway, so the other morning, we're walking, and it's the morning, and even though in the morning we don't often see a skunk, I know the skunk's around there, right? So I'm keeping an eye out. And I'm looking on the side of the street where the 3 houses are, and across the street, across from one of those houses, I see an older lady with a permed hairdo in her bathrobe on her front lawn. And I don't think anything of it. I can't quite see what's going on, what she's doing. But I just figure she's out watering her lawn in the morning or before it gets too hot or whatever. I don't know what's happening, but there she is. We walk a little bit further. I'm still looking for a skunk. I'm not seeing any sort of skunk. And then I noticed that this woman is kind of tottering around. I can see a little bit more because there was kind of like a hedge and then a car blocking her from my view. And she's got a big, like an Amazon box, but it's like a flat Amazon box, but it's pretty big. But it's just not a very tall Amazon box. It's wide, but it's not tall. And she's kind of like walking around. She's just slowly, and then she turns around and she comes back this other way. And then she turns, and we come down the street enough to look around the car that is blocking her completely, or, blocking her from me from seeing her totally. And friends, she is shuffling around her front lawn with an Amazon box in her hand, trying, I guess, to capture the skunk. And it's just the funniest thing because the skunk does not care that this woman is behind him with a box, or him or her. And the skunk is just like, I'm just going to look over here. Sniff around here and sniff around. And, excuse me, I'm trying to pass through here. And then he'd walk past her and she would turn and she's just slowly. And I was like, this is going to be a disaster. We need to get out of here before whatever happens because something is going to happen. So I don't know. I hope was she trying to relocate the skunk? I don't know. I would have just left the skunk alone because, if you... there was one morning we were walking down that street and we saw a skunk in a trap from the city, like the humane, the Burbank Animal Shelter or whatever, and they had trapped a skunk for relocation. But obviously there's more skunks there, and I don't know if she was trying to trap it or what was happening, but... lady, I hope you got your skunk. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Grantcast. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. We'll be back very, very soon with another episode. Hopefully, knock on wood, but I'm not going to knock on it because I don't want to bother Harvey because he is spoiled. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I will talk to you soon. Goodbye. This episode of the Grantcast was made possible by the Saturday Morning Media Patreon patrons, who've gone to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up a pledge for as little as $1 a month. Patrons at the behind-the-scenes level and above get access to a video of the recording of these podcast episodes, and all patrons get access to the audio of these episodes the moment they are edited. Big shout out to all of our patrons, and a special shout out to our patron producers, Eve Cunning, Kathy Crawford, Tony Urbano, Brandy, David Akers, Lee Thompson, Paul, Ricky Chavez, and Scott Armstrong. If you'd like to become a patron and receive commercial-free episodes of the Grantcast before they are released, visit patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up your monthly pledge today. And thank you for your support. This episode of the Grantcast is copyright 2025 Saturday Morning Media Grant Baciocco, executive producer, all rights reserved. www.saturdaymorningmedia.com.
You've been listening to Saturday Morning Media. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.